Hi, welcome to another episode of What Teachers Have to Say, a podcast where we are trying to put the human element back into education.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a role in our society that is kind of systematically dehumanized in a lot of ways.
Dehumanized as a profession out there. So if we can bring, we were kind of quipping, like we understand whole child. What about whole educator?
What about
we get to be human beings?
Exactly. This job is not just a job. If you've ever taught anyone anything in any context, you realize that it takes an extension of self that is not easy.
Yeah.
And whenever you're in a position when you're working with children, it's not just a job. It just isn't. So today, we are not talking about just that. We are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this show got me thinking about the role of mentorship and the way that mentorship can go sideways, the way that you can fail as a mentor and what that means, where those pitfalls are. Because, failing as a mentor is not the end. There is a path forward, and that is explored through Obi-Wan's story. And so we're going to explore that together.
The path of darkness, you will.
All right, here we go.
So let's talk Star Wars.
Okay.
There's a weird nostalgia around Star Wars.
There is such a weird nostalgia.
I'm wearing my Yoda today.
I feel like I meant to wear a Star Wars shirt, but I actually discovered I no longer have them. Yeah, I think I have a May the 4th one, but
nice.
I love the Yoda. What about your Darth Vader one? He has a Darth Vader shirt that's like...
Soy tu padre, hijo.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's like a spoiler that nobody gets.
Yeah, no one gets. It's so good. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars, it feels like it's just so integrated into all pop culture. You don't get into sci-fi period without having to go through the crucible of understanding Star Wars.
And even our students now, like, it's just different. Like for me, it's, Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Return of the Jedi. Right. That was my Star Wars. But when you talk to my kids, Star Wars is Clone Wars.
Really?
It's the cartoon.
Yeah, it's the Clone Wars.
That's where they're at.
Sure.
And now a little bit more like Mandalorian and Obi-Wan and
I think Mandalorian is really continuing the tradition of Star Wars, the original, as much as so has that feel.
I think it'd be pretty hard to be at least an American and not have some form of identity around Star Wars, even if it's like a dislike relationship, right? Everybody has that thing where they're like, no, I've never seen it and I'm never going to.
Yeah.
Or like I am memory. Like
I love this character or whatever. I have a bumper sticker of this. I have that. Yeah.
And in honesty, like I have a strange love of Star Wars, but I don't actually like watching the movies. I kind of fall asleep during all the movies, and if you're in that boat with me, it's okay. Yeah. But like my child, right? Yeah. I remember we were chatting about this. I very distinctly remember like having a belt buckle of Jabba the Hutt.
This is so funny.
Like, and I was little.
Like Jabba the Hutt?
I know. Like
of
in
all
what
the
world?
Swag
of all the swag, of all the like things that you could buy.
Yeah.
I never had action figures. I never had any of that. It was Transformers for me. I had all that stuff. But I do remember sitting like on the lower elementary playground, probably spoiler dumping on the poor, the poor yard narc.
I was going to see that later.
The poor college student yard narc that and I told the whole plot.
So this is Return of the Jedi. Yeah. What happens
is Luke my melt buckle
in the last movie, and this is the Jabba.
The Han Solo.
Why Jabba the Hutt though? Honestly,
I don't know. I mean, looking back, it might have been like the cheap one,
right? Totally. Yeah. Yes.
But I remember that.
Humble folk.
Or like walking up to the video store. Kids have no concept of that now. We had Uptown Video, even before you.
I know,
Uptown Video was the first one in Paradise, California. And we used to like pool our money together.
Yep.
And like go up and we'd walk up. It was in the shopping center. And we would rent like a big blue suitcase because we didn't own a machine. It was probably a Betamax back then. Like, I don't even know.
Totally.
And I remember like, yeah, watching Star Wars.
For me, it was like worn out copies of the VHSs. Like I can still so clearly like see the like cover, and they were the old ones without the CGI.
No.
Yeah, that was like, you know, that was like the original.
Not even the cool Laserdisc ones.
Yeah, not even the Laserdisc. I had the VHS, and I would watch those all the time. It was such a powerful story to me, and I think, you know, like in media since that, like hero's journey framework that George Lucas really set up from Joseph Campbell in Star Wars, and then being influenced by Westerns, and like John Ford was one of his favorite directors, is a classic Western guy. Like it just sort of pulled together all of these different things from American culture, and and like solidified them in our cultural consciousness. So I think it's very relevant to talk about in terms of mentorship, especially because you look everything related to hero's journey or Star Wars is it's related to, there's that mentor, right? That's the key component that sort of unlocks the journey. And, you know, talking about like Luke and Obi-Wan, and then thinking about Obi-Wan as a mentor, but then there's that Obi-Wan show that just came out on Disney Plus this last year, I think. And it hasn't gotten a huge amount of attention, I think, as like not as much as Mandalorian. Like I don't see Obi-Wan
it's not
bumper stickers. There's no you know, Baby Yoda in there. But
all the original people.
All the original people from the movies. Like they got Hayden Christensen, they got Liam Neeson, they got everybody back. And like it's clear that it was a really
Ewan
important...
McGregor, you know.
Ewan McGregor. Hello there.
Obi himself.
He's fantastic in it. And what really struck me about it, now I wasn't expecting much out of the show. I watched it like near the end of the school year this last year, and it just hit me so hard to like really realize that Obi-Wan failed as a mentor.
I hadn't thought about it that way until you brought it up.
Yeah, because you think about him with Luke later, and you're like, oh yeah, he's the mentor that unlocks the door. He sets Luke on his path.
Yeah.
He like gives him all of the information. He comes back from the undead.
Yeah, comes back from the dead.
Comes back from the dead to guide Luke in his journey. And that's sort of the impression I've always had as him. And then this story really explores all of the things before that with a relationship to Anakin and him being a mentor to Anakin. So that it got me really thinking about it as like, where are those missteps in mentorship that really, where things can really go sideways,
right?
Where even though your intentions are good, maybe you aren't ready, or your student isn't ready, or maybe you haven't received enough mentorship yourself in your practice. So that's something we're going to explore today. We're going to talk about this Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, I'm into it.
In some depth. So let's just start by setting up the show. Let's start by setting up the show. So the show starts with Obi-Wan post, you know, like spoiler alerts are all over this. Okay. So this one's definitely going to have some spoilers in it.
Let's just get out of the way.
Let's get out of the way.
Darth Vader is the father of Luke and Leia.
Yeah. That's, you should know.
Your grandparents knew this.
So the setup is like very shortly after the fall of the Jedi, right? So the end of the like third one.
Like I was actually
of the
surprised.
newer trilogy.
The very opening scene is when all the younglings are massacred.
Yeah. Brutal. So like starting a Disney Channel
this is
show.
where we're gonna go. Okay,
like,
let's murder children.
Okay, yeah, it kind of blows your hair back for a second.
It starts right out,
and it's you're confronted with the horror of what has happened, right? Yeah. So it's and you have the Jedi have fled everywhere. The Jedi Order is done.
Yeah,
there's no Jedi Council.
It goes like 10 years later, real quick.
It's been eliminated, right? So you're pushed ahead in the future, and Obi-Wan is like middle-aged. He's, and he's deeply struggling at the very beginning of the show. He's like kind of eking out a living on Tatooine, right? So he's on Tatooine. Luke is there as a child, right? Like that was the whole plan at the end, is where Luke and Leia are separated and they each go to different places. Leia becomes basically royalty with the Organa family, is adopted over there, and Luke goes and is a moisture farmer on Tatooine, whatever. So you got the raw end of that deal.
In a desert.
But Obi-Wan follows him out there
Uncle Owen.
to protect him, right?
Yeah.
He follows, and that's really his role. But this really explores everything before that, everything before he's Uncle Ben, right?
Yeah.
So he's going by Ben. He's working in this like just mundane,
and he's not even really in Luke's life.
Job. Yeah, he's not.
Like
really
he just watches him from afar,
He's
like
watching
bottom of Maslow's. Is he safe? Is he getting
safe?
fed?
Is he hydrated?
That's all he had in him.
That's all he has in him. And he doesn't have any. He's not using the Force. Everything about him is broken.
Yeah.
He's a broken man.
Yeah.
And he's really, really struggling. And you see him, he's starting to have these like flashbacks or nightmares about Darth Vader, about Anakin, and about all of these missteps and he's like filled with regret. You know, he's considering all of the ways in which he might have.
We've all
wrong,
been there,
right? So yeah, like
no, but seriously, we've all screwed up. There's in mentorship.
There are those moments where you're like, I could have been there, or I could have done that differently, or I could have. What could I have done? I think very few of us are confronted with the horror of having a student and then having that student become someone like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like that is
there.
I have not been there. I hope to never go there. Some people have been there, but it gets dark. It's dark, right? You have a student that then becomes the most terrifying like being in the galaxy. Okay. And how did that happen? Right. How did that happen? So this is the show. He's a broken man. He's alone on Tatooine, and he's having all these PTSD flashbacks, and he's going back through it. But he has the opportunity to save, and he has this redemption arc. He has this opportunity to save Leia. Leia gets kidnapped by basically the Inquisitor people. So these are the some of them are former Jedi, people that are hunting down the Jedi.
Right.
And Leia gets kidnapped by them in order to draw out Obi-Wan, because they know that Obi-Wan will likely come to save her.
Yeah,
and
they're
then
trying to get him.
And that does happen because Leia's dad is like, hey, I need you to do this. And Obi-Wan doesn't want to do it. He's like, I can't. I can't. I am broken. I can't do it. But he calls him out and he's like, okay, I will take up this. I am the only Obi-Wan. I am my own only hope. Like that's kind of the situation. So he takes on that challenge. He finds Leia, he rescues her, and it's a very challenging for him. He can barely fight anymore. He can barely use the Force because he's been so removed.
He didn't remember his why.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Somebody needed to ask him what his why was.
Somebody probably did.
It would have fixed everything.
Yo, dude, what's your why right now? He's actually like, my why is I need to be alone.
I need to be an Hermitage.
An Hermitage. But so he has this opportunity and he's kind of coming back out of it. And in that process, he has to confront Darth Vader. He has to confront the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
All of that starts to come out.
Which he feels is his fault.
And he does feel that it's his fault.
He failed Anakin. Anakin ruined the world.
Yep.
Therefore, it's Obi's fault.
And this is the fallout.
Yeah.
Right? And so let's think about that. Let's explore that a little bit in terms of the history of Star Wars. So I want to take it to episode 1 where Qui-Gon is in the equation.
Just please don't bring up Jar Jar Binks.
Please don't.
The Mary-Kate and Ashley of the intergalactic space. I hate that guy.
And it's actually Jar Jar that poses the motion in the Galactic Senate to give all of the power to the Emperor. Jar Jar ruined the galaxy, actually.
Jar Jar ruined the galaxy.
Who was Jar Jar's mentor? Anyway. I digress.
Nice.
Anyway, so you you have Qui-Gon in episode 1. So this is how it worked. Qui-Gon was Obi-Wan's mentor.
Old school Jedi.
Old school Jedi. Qui-Gon's my favorite
Robes and
Jedi
all.
of all time. He is he has this like, just doesn't fit in with the Jedi Order quite exact. He doesn't really look at the pomp and circumstance of it. He doesn't really fit in with how political the Jedi have become. Obi-Wan even is like talking to him. He's like, you could be on the Jedi Council. And he's like, why would I do that? He's like the old teacher that's so good at connecting with students and so good at teaching. And then everybody's like, you should be an admin. He's like, why would I be an admin?
My wife is that person.
Everyone knows
all the time.
This
They're
guy.
like, why aren't you in administration?
And
she's like, because I'm a great teacher.
Exactly.
Because I know my... Julie's a freaking amazing teacher.
Yeah, she is.
We'd be sad to lose her in the classroom.
Exactly.
And she'd be a great administrator, but...
I know. And that's the thing. But where can you have the greatest impact, I think? And for Qui-Gon, he's like, the greatest impact I can have is being a mentor.
In the classroom.
In the classroom. This is what I'm doing. So he has Obi-Wan as his Padawan student that he's training. And then he's sent off on this mission with Obi-Wan, and they have to save the Princess Amidala, right? And this is how the whole conflict starts to happen. But along that journey, they come across Anakin. Anakin is, I think he is on Tatooine also. Everything goes around this desert planet Tatooine, but
he's a slave.
He's a slave there. So let's break Anakin down. So you were talking about Anakin's ACES score.
So here in our county, we are, or have been, I don't know where we are now, the highest ACES scores in the nation. ACES being the acute childhood experience.
No, I think it's adverse
childhood experiences.
Yes.
Right. So it's basically like how traumatic was life for you as a child.
Exactly.
And there's a score.
There's
and
a
then
metric.
There's a metric for that to help that. Because we have really high trauma in our county, right?
A lot.
But so my wife and I were joking last night before this, and we were like, "Wow, what's Anakin's ACES scores?" And we're like, "Well, let's see. He was a slave, physical abuse, emotional abuse. He watched his mother be victimized and brutalized and murdered." Incarceration. Like he literally was all of it. And we're like, he's a 7.
Yeah.
Which is really high.
Extremely.
It's really high. So we were joking like, wow, like he needed way more supports. Yeah. He needed like full wraparound services.
Full wraparound services is what Anakin
He did not just need one mentor that was brand new.
Yeah.
And kind of ill qualified.
Yeah.
Well intended.
Exactly.
He was like, so like you helped me understand that. Like Obi-Wan was really like the new teacher, like a first year teacher.
Yeah, he totally
given this giant responsibility of like, I don't know, the greatest guy with the most midichlorians ever in the planet, whatever. Darth Vader, the guy that's going to become the greatest Jedi 4C person ever.
Prophecy, right?
Yeah,
sure. So Qui-Gon believes in this prophecy,
which is how many times are new teachers given like so much responsibility that they are not ready for.
No.
Willing.
Yeah.
But we set him up for failure.
You want to prove yourself,
which
right?
I think is a good point here.
I think so too.
So sorry, I digress.
No,
I jumped in there. Obi-Wan was
perfect.
set up for failure as a mentor. Not that he's a bad mentor or a bad person or not good at being a Jedi.
Right.
But that like the skill set that he had was misaligned.
It was.
He wasn't ready.
Yeah. So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, they meet Anakin. Qui-Gon believes that he is the child of prophecy of the Jedi, right? And so he's like, you have to train him. But what happens to Qui-Gon is spoiler alert, he dies at the end of the first movie.
I mean, it's hero's journey. The sage has to die.
Yeah, the sage has to die.
Sorry.
But really, that's what him dying sets up the whole rest of the story, because Qui-Gon was the right mentor for Anakin.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon was seasoned. He had been in there. He knew what was up. And actually, when Qui-Gon brings Obi-Wan and Anakin before the Jedi Council, Qui-Gon is like, I am going to take on a new Padawan. And Yoda is there. He's like, Padawan you have, bro.
Yeah.
Like
You already got one.
Obi-Wan's right there. And he's like, no, Obi-Wan's ready. He's ready for the trials. He's good. He's good to go. And was probably that. I mean, I'm sure that was true for Obi-Wan. And he's like, yeah, he's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Yeah, I'm ready for the trials.
Put me in.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, sure. So he's ready for the trials. But then on his deathbed, right? So he's ready to become a Jedi. But on his deathbed, Qui-Gon is telling him, you must train the boy.
Nothing like a little deathbed.
And so now this incredible weight is put on Obi-Wan to train Anakin and to be the mentor that Anakin needs. But he can't do that. Like we were talking about, student teachers set up to fail, young teachers set up to fail. And this is definitely one of those situations where he's like, this is this massive responsibility placed on a brand new Jedi that's barely older than Anakin. He really is more of an older brother. And there's so much disconnect to there.
And let's think about that. Like these new teachers, like brand new teacher often gets the hardest classes, the lowest level
freshmen,
classes,
chaotic
the
freshmen,
chaotic, the low levels of math, the low performing stuff.
Yep.
And then there's this weird idea that you have to like work your way into being the AP teacher.
What is that? Yeah.
All the time. Oh, well, we cobbled a schedule together. You have 5 preps as a brand new teacher, right? And one of them is outside of your content's knowledge, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And here's a classroom of 40 incredibly squirrely, and
you
difficult,
need to connect with all of them,
children.
know their
You need to know their back. It's
so many people listening right now are like, oh, I feel seen.
Yeah. You get it, man.
Yeah.
That is not, I actually had even here, I had a student reflect that to me, like, you have a really hard, like, homeroom class. Cause I'm newer here. And so you get a lot of more, like, you don't have an established homeroom. So you get all the just newbies. The new people.
Yeah.
And there was one student who has been in the system for a while that was on my homeroom that actually reflected me like, you'd think they'd give a newer teacher, like, the kids that know what's up with this whole model, because it's weird and I see you really struggling. And I'm like, thank you, student.
Thank you for seeing my pain.
But I feel like, that is such a challenge and it's so backward. So
Obi-Wan was given like 15 preps.
Obi-Wan was given
a child with high ACES scores.
15 preps.
And a prophecy.
He can't. And a prophecy.
And
Throw
a prophecy.
in
Check
there.
a prophecy on top.
Dude. Okay. So let's explore that a little bit. Let's explore like how Obi-Wan failed in more specificity.
Jinx.
Like clearly he's set up to fail, but then
and that guise of like no shame. Like
failing is thrown around as a word that is so like upsetting. Like you've failed is like I am a failure. No, it means that you have to be okay with failing. That's how you learn. And this is a lesson I'm always trying to impart to students.
These lessons that you've come up with, they really do align. Like as a teacher, I'm pushing 18 years or something like that. I've kind of lost count. I look back and I'm like, I've probably done a lot of these along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
With students, with other teachers, with consulting, all of these things. So you got a lot of good stuff to say.
Definitely.
Right? Learn what not to do. That's what we're trying to do here, right? Learn how to be like latter Obi-Wan.
Latter Obi-Wan. With
during the late Obi-Wan period.
The late Obi-Wan period. Yeah, because he comes full circle and is an incredible mentor to Luke for his whole life, even after death. Like,
comes back as a ghost. I'm not going to do that to my students.
That's like after retirement.
There's a couple students I might haunt.
Yeah.
Just have that expectation.
Yeah.
But expectations, I think that's actually a big thing, right? So like the expectation of Obi-Wan as the mentor, when you helped me understand this, because I'm not that great at the story, Obi-Wan and Anakin were peers.
Yeah. Because Qui-Gon, like in that going before the
And Yoda's
Jedi
like,
Council.
don't take another Padawan.
Don't take another Padawan. But he's like, they're both under Qui-Gon's mentorship, right? And then once they lose Qui-Gon, like, I think it's very hard for even Obi-Wan to see Anakin as his student. I think he's too close
blurred
to him.
lines, which is we see that, right? How many times do you cross that line into friendship?
Yeah.
You know,
just go because there's a difference
With students.
between connection with students that is authentic from a student mentor relationship, and then there is crossing into
and
when you're growing connection, sometimes you learn
there's a blur.
There's a blur.
And I
there.
think middle school teachers face this so frequently. My wife is a middle school teacher, and you know, like elementary, you're like the weird parent that's not a parent, right? You're like this infallible. I can't tell you how many times I've been called mom, right?
Yeah. Totally.
But then in high school, they really don't care.
Yeah, they're
anymore. They're
teenagers, you know?
teenagers.
They're
they
a
don't want
different
another
crowd.
parent.
They're a different
But
crowd.
then that middle school, that liminal space between, right? Like I can remember when kids are like, I thought you were my friend. You're like, oh, I'm actually something way better than that.
Yeah.
I'm not your friend. Right? On purpose.
On purpose.
Mentor. And that line gets blurred
And that's
between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
It's interesting you said that too, because Anakin is like right that age too, right?
Yeah.
Right when that happens.
Oh, he's so a little petulant.
He's-
middle
he's
schooler,
right there.
raging hormones and all.
yeah, totally.
Then he's got magic.
Yeah. Move stuff with his mind.
It's a nightmare.
That would be crazy.
Imagine teaching math to a seventh grader with magic.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to know.
So, but yeah, that would be hard
That would be very hard.
to
very
raise
hard.
yourself from peer to mentor. And he was dealing with the loss of his mentor. He didn't know how to mentor. And then that guilt of like, my mentor told me on his dying breath
Right. That this
that
child.
this is the most important thing I can ever do with my entire life.
right. How to
Just
measure up to that.
Right? The expectations were so misaligned. And then even the expectations between like Anakin had a path that he saw for himself. And Obi-Wan had a path that he saw for Anakin, and they were not the same.
No. So there's like, if you go back through the first trilogy, but then also just in the show, because in the show there are like flashbacks and stuff to earlier mentorship moments between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you see a lot of this disconnect emotionally. So we talk a lot about connection and mentorship, and this is something that also wasn't really happening because, you know, as we've like set up, Obi-Wan wasn't really prepared to be the mentor that Anakin needed.
Yeah.
And then he's also he's not sharing much of himself. He's trying to like project this confidence. And I think
Right.
a lot of newer teachers have that, where you're trying to seem like you're a seasoned teacher.
Be the mentor you think you should
Right.
be.
But in that way, you're not offering much to your students in order to like of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's this really interesting moment in the Obi-Wan show where Obi-Wan's actually talking to Leia, and he's like, you remind me so much of your mother. And then he's like, I actually don't have really any memories of my mother. Because Jedi are taken from their
the
parents when they're very
younglings.
young. But he's like, I know I had a brother, and I just have fragments of memories from him. So Obi-Wan has experienced this kind of loss of connection. He might not be as visceral for him as it is for Anakin, but it's there. But he never offers that to Anakin. He's never
He kind of
really,
never takes care of his emotions.
yeah, period. He's just like, so Anakin is, you know, if you know anything about the show, he struggles with a lot. He struggles with fear of loss, of losing his mother because he wasn't able to save his mother.
And then he does.
And then he does lose his mother.
So he was proven right.
He was proven right. And that everything that happens after that is wild. He
Slaughters tribes of Tusken warriors.
It's brutal. And then he's also developing deep feelings of romantic connection with Princess Amidala, and that's not something a Jedi is supposed to have. You're very much a
little Romeo and Juliet on there.
Yeah, you're kind of this a monk basically.
It's very monastic lifestyle.
It's a very monastic lifestyle. He's not supposed to. So and Obi-Wan sees this, but he's just like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing.
We don't do that.
We don't do that.
That's not what we do.
Or like, you shouldn't. So he's kind of like
helping tease that out.
He's seeing these things, but he's basically just telling Anakin to set them aside.
Yeah.
And I feel like I fall into that trap with students a lot because sometimes you're just overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
So seeing you're like, yeah, that sucks.
You're like, wow, I'm really sorry, but we got to get back to equations.
Yeah, we got stuff to do today. So, there are those moments.
Why don't you go get a drink of water?
Because sometimes students just straight up overshare and you're like, actually, we're not going to go there.
Put a wet paper towel on your
kind
forehead.
of a different thing. But if you're in this,
you haven't taught elementary school. You don't know that
What? Hold up.
Okay, prove me right, universe. A comment. How many times have you solved a problem in the classroom by telling a kid to put a wet paper towel on their forehead and cool down?
What does it do?
Or on the back of their neck. There is actually like physiological responses.
Is it really?
Yeah, and so you can solve like everything in a classroom.
If only Obi-Wan had been like, yo, put a wet paper towel on
put a
your
wet paper
forehead.
towel on the back of your neck. Go get a drink of water.
You'll be fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. But Obi-Wan misses those opportunities for connection, right? He misses because he doesn't know. He doesn't see them. He's not seasoned enough. He doesn't know how to guide Anakin through all of these struggles because they're so beyond really his understanding or his ability to empathize. And he's young.
And he's brand new.
He's brand new Jedi. Yeah. So he's missing opportunities for connection. He's missing opportunities for guidance. These are things that are easy to do.
Yeah.
And no fault on him.
No fault on him, right? He was in a rough spot. Period. Obi-Wan, it's hard to say Obi-Wan was a failed mentor because we love Obi-Wan as a character. He's a hero of our childhood, those things.
Yeah.
But he did. He screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. Not that Darth Vader is his fault.
Right.
We don't want to make that. Because he did a lot of good things too, actually.
He did.
He really did. Nobody was sticking up for Anakin.
No.
But he was.
He was.
Obi-Wan was there for him. Mm-hmm. He stuck up for him, recognized potential.
He did.
A little too much.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan is a really human character.
He is.
He's flawed the way that we all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we don't want to just drag him through the mud and rake him over all the coals.
He really did the best with what he had.
With what he had.
But it wasn't enough for Anakin because Anakin was especially challenging. Anakin needed, as we said earlier, he needed full wraparound support.
Jedi Council.
He needed someone to recognize all of those things and to be with him in those places where he was struggling, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan is taking that on. In this show, he has this feeling of incredible regret, of PTSD, of he's having nightmares.
Well, and it's all hindsight too.
It's all hindsight. It's all happened. All the failures have already happened, and it's piling up on him. And Obi-Wan, even in that all those moments, he kind of is speaking to Qui-Gon, even though Qui-Gon isn't there. He's like, I really need you right now.
Yeah.
I really need guidance. I really need guidance from my mentor. Obi-Wan himself knows that he doesn't know the way forward. He doesn't know how to move forward. Mm-hmm. And part of the resolution of this show that is so incredibly powerful, I think, and this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, not a big one though. So obviously Obi-Wan and Darth Vader are going to have a conflict. And that happens. And there's a very, very intense lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And it's actually painful to watch.
Because you see what a broken person Obi has become.
Yeah.
He's hiding. He's skulking.
He's trying to get away.
Yeah.
He's terrified of this
confronting.
Used to be his student, but confronting what this person is.
Well, and I think
now.
that's kind of a theme in his mentorship. Like he never confronted root causes. He never, like why is Anakin so hell-bent on this relationship with, Padme?
Yeah.
Oh, he lost his mother. He was a slave. He lost his father. He was, all of these things. And not that that's a teacher's place to unpack all the time. Right. Absolutely not. I am not qualified to crack open all of those things.
But I can refer you to supports.
But I can refer you to supports. Right. I can call in the Jedi Council.
We can figure this out.
Yeah.
We can figure it out. But then none of those things really happen. He's not really addressing that. And in this fight, he's gaining some footing, and he actually does like a lightsaber strike that cuts Darth Vader's mask, and so you see the like yellowy Sith eyes of Anakin now that he's become Darth Vader, and just the horror of that, and like he's become this mechanized human, more machine than man, right? And he's looking at him in the face, and they are looking at each other, and there's this exchange that's just so powerful because Obi-Wan is filled with so much regret and sorrow that this has happened. And Anakin actually says to him, I am what you made me, which is just chilling because it is true. He had to fight him. He did put him in this position. He cut off his limbs because he was in that battle, and he assumed that he was dead because he couldn't bring himself to actually kill his student. That's just unimaginable. But he leaves him for dead, and so Anakin is like, I am what you made me, but it's not your fault. And that's such a powerful moment because yes, you failed me as a mentor, but also I made my own choices.
And that's I think it's something that I want to remember. Right? Yeah. Obi did what he could with the tools that he had. Darth Vader was not his fault. Yeah. He definitely helped the pathway. Yeah. Right? But in the end, Darth Vader chose. So like with our students, like we can do what we can. We can try our best. We can call in the Jedi Council. We can get full wraparound services. But in the end, that student might not, you can lead a horse to water type of a situation. They may not take it up.
Right. They have to ultimately choose their own path.
Yeah.
Right. We're not choosing for anyone. We can only offer what we can offer. Yeah. Right. And yeah, like as a failed mentor, Obi-Wan it is a tragic story there. But it's not one that's uncommon. It's not one that's like, it's just so human. Like, of course, we all have our blind spots.
If I had $1 for every Darth Vader that I've created.
I hope not.
I might have $1.
I might have $1.
Yeah, but I think that's the main takeaway for me, kind of wrapping up is Obi did not succeed in taking Anakin to the place where Obi-Wan thought he needed to go.
Right.
Anakin did succeed in going to the place where he wanted to go.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right?
He got all the way there.
So how do we, as a teacher, what's your takeaway? How are you going to...
Well, I think for me...
be the good part of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
The late stage Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and I think
the
that's
classic
what's
period Obi-Wan.
That's what's important to bring it back around to, because Obi-Wan, in the end, he is able to save Leia. He is able to offer Leia the support that she needs and the reassurance that she has a Jedi Knight in her back pocket. Like, that is a very powerful thing. And he's able to save Luke as well. There's another conflict that goes alongside this that's in there. He's able to protect Luke. So he has this redemption arc where he has another chance. And you always have another chance. There's always going to be a new student walking through that door. There's always going to be another class. There's always going to be next year. Yeah. There's no point at which you should just stop and throw up your hands.
No.
And that's where we see Obi-Wan in the beginning. But then he gets to this other place where he sees a path forward finally. And once he sees that path forward, he reconnects with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon appears to
Yeah,
him,
ghosty
right?
Qui-Gon.
Out of the ghost Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan looks at him and he says, "This is major spoiler because this is right at the end." But it's like Obi-Wan looks at him, he says, "Where have you been? I've needed you so much. I've needed your guidance." And Qui-Gon says, "I was here waiting for you."
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan wasn't ready to move forward as a mentor yet. He needed to go through all of these other things with Luke and Leia to find his path forward. So that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for the next opportunity. I'm always looking for
Obi-Wan as reflective practice.
kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Like you might make missteps. You might fail. You might fail as a mentor miserably.
You will.
And you will, for sure.
I have.
There is, this job ain't easy. But there's always a way forward, especially if you have good mentors yourself to guide you.
Yeah, kind of going back to what Kim Vogie said in our previous episode about Ted Lasso. She was like, even mentors need mentors.
Absolutely.
Right? And maybe that's part of what happened with Obi is like, nope, he was chucked out into the wind. Although, in honesty, like the Jedi Council tried to step in and he was like, no, thank you.
He did. He kind of shut the door to his classroom.
He did.
Yoda
cloistered
was
himself
definitely
off
like,
and was like, I got
what's
this.
going on? Let me help you. What is happening?
Help you, I will.
Help you, I will.
Terrible.
But yeah, he didn't take the help. So take the help too.
Yeah.
Look for the Yoda that you need.
Look for the Yoda. Nice takeaway.
Yeah. It's a good one. All right.
All right.
We'll see you in the next one.